Now, I hope all of you are taking notes of the class in your notebook. I hope you have the pad and pen ready with you. This is actually a very useful method. It is a time-tested method when we are trying to attend any spiritual class. Initially, the message goes into our head, but when we, after the class is over, when we review the contents, then they slowly begin to sink. In Bhagavad Gita, repeatedly the words jnana and vijnana are used. Jnana means a kind of an intellectual learning, but vijnana means something that goes deeper into the heart and becomes a realization. So this taking notes is found to be an extremely useful exercise. Even though you may feel that your memory is good, just the process of writing down has its own power. So we sincerely request all of you to do this, because we are coming to Bhagavad Gita for transformation. We are not just here for information. So with that point in view, I request you all to cooperate in this. And we shall continue these classes after the Gita Mahatmyam is over. We have already informed you there will be more classes. There will be going deeper into Bhagavad Gita and a host of other subjects relating to Krishna. So I request your enthusiastic participation as you have been so far giving to us. Thank you very much. Now I will start the session. Let us take the darshan of Radha Krishna on the screen. They are the deities of ISKCON Chennai. With their blessings, let us move on, and we take the blessings of Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. As I explained to you, he is instrumental in taking this message of Krishna to the whole world. Gita was given by Lord Krishna for the whole world, not for only people of Bharat Bhumi or only the Hindus. Krishna doesn't see people as Hindu or non-Hindu. From Krishna's point of view, everyone is his children. For that matter, not only the human beings. Krishna would consider all living beings as his children. So that being the case, there is no way that we can, differentiate between different living entities. From Krishna's point of view, he is the life-giving father of everyone. Gita will talk about 84 lakh species of life. And 84 lakh species of life means 84 lakh different types of body templates. But the soul inside is the same. The same soul can go anywhere. So, that way, Srila Prabhupada is merciful not only to the human beings, but also to non-human living things, just as Krishna was. Krishna is Supreme Lord, and Srila Prabhupada is his authorized, bona fide representative. So both of them share the same qualities, and Srila Prabhupada demonstrated in his life a great deal of compassion for all living entities. So let us make a prayer to Srila Prabhupada that our coming to Bhagavad Gita should be fruitful, and we should be able to make spiritual progress, and we should be able to overcome all the obstacles on our path to purifying our existence. And today's shloka is shloka number 3 of Gita Mahatmya. Kindly join with me in reciting the shloka. We will read it twice and slowly. Please, all of you join. Maline mochanam pumsam jalasnanam dine dine sakrit gitamrita snanam samsara malanashanam. Repeat. Maline mochanam pumsam jalasnanam dine dine sakrit gitamrita snanam samsara malanashanam. We will go into the translation. One may cleanse himself daily by taking a bath in water. But if one takes a bath even once in the sacred Ganges water of Bhagavad Gita, for him the dirt of material life is altogether vanquished. We will read again. One may cleanse himself daily by taking a bath in water. But if one takes a bath even once in the sacred Ganges water of Bhagavad Gita, for him the dirt of material life is altogether vanquished. So here we are seeing Adi Shankaracharya telling us that a one bath in Bhagavad Gita, and it is as sacred as the Ganges water. Ganges water and other water, there is a huge difference, because Ganges can remove our sins. Our normal water bath removes only the dirt from the body, but then by afternoon we feel that we should have one more bath, because the body is already accumulating a lot of grime, from the pollution in the streets or from our own sweating. We feel I need one more bath. So yes, we should take bath daily, but that bath has to be repeated, because dirt accumulates in our body. Constantly it accumulates. Contamination accumulates. This is the external feature we are talking about. On our skin, every part of our body, we feel dirt is accumulating. In a similar way, in our material life also, dirt is accumulating in our consciousness all the time. Our own thoughts, which we choose to meditate upon, even according to psychologists, every 1 second there are 1,000 thoughts crisscrossing in our brain. But each one of us tend to pick up one thought at a time to meditate upon. We cannot hold more than one thought in our conscious mind. But in our unconscious mind, just like a water boiling in the stove, bubbles are constantly coming. That is coming in our subconscious mind, just below the conscious level. So many thoughts are there. But which one I pick up and which one I think about, that is a choice that I have. And because of our wrong choices of which thoughts we give our attention, we tend to accumulate dirt in our consciousness. By taking bath, we are cleansing our body daily. So fresh dirt comes, again the next bath, we are removing it. But what can we do with the dirt that is coming into our consciousness? What a big question mark. Just imagine, even if it is my heart, can I take it out my heart and wash it and put it back? No. But the dirt we are talking about is not accumulating in our physical heart. It is accumulating in our consciousness. How do we take out our consciousness and cleanse it? If somebody offers a method to cleanse our consciousness, what a great blessing it is. So much dirt has accumulated in our consciousness. This body, one day I will leave, and along with all the dirt, this body will go. But whatever dirt I have accumulated in this one lifetime, that will go with me into the next lifetime in my consciousness. So our consciousness is having the dirt accumulated for unlimited lifetimes. How do we cleanse the dirt? And here Adi Shankaracharya is telling, who is the incarnation of Lord Shiva himself. He says, please take bath in Bhagavad Gita. It is as great as Ganges water, so sacred. And it can cleanse your material, the dirt of material life permanently. There is no more samsara mala. Mala means we understand. We say, the toilet, we say malajalam, To remove the dirt from our body, we use the toilet, mala. Like that, our presence in this material world, our being here now in a material body, it is a mala. This body itself is a mala. And when we die, we take one more body. That means the mala is continuing. The mala in the consciousness is resulting in this body. So this body is a manifestation of our mala. So on this body, by misuse, we are accumulating more mala. So that is why Srila Prabhupada and his guru used to say, this material world is actually a toilet, a public toilet. So why does somebody go to a public toilet? To give up the mala, to destroy the mala, And then how much time you want to spend in a public toilet? Once your business is finished, you get out of that place. So Prabhupada used to say, you have come to a public toilet, this material world is like that. Finish your business quickly and go back to God. So that is what Shankaracharya is offering. Your mala will be removed permanently and you don't have to come back here for that purpose again. So you are ready to go back to God. So I am just listing out Adi Shankaracharya's blessings for sincere Gita readers. This is the collection of all the blessings he has given in the first 3 shlokas. Only the first 3 shlokas we have read so far. First thing, it makes you free from hankering, lamenting, and removes all our fear and miseries. You hanker for something that you don't have. I want something. That is called hankering. Lamenting means I had something but I have lost it. I want it back. That is lamenting. So hankering is something I want in the future. Lamenting is for something I have lost in the past. All of us have these tendencies. Similarly, fear is about what will happen in the future. What may happen or what may not happen. That is called fear of the future. And miseries are what we are already experiencing in our life because of past karma. Yesterday we talked about action, reaction, right? We are suffering from reaction and these are the miseries. And Bhagavad Gita will give freedom from all these things. That's what Adi Shankaracharya is saying. For sincere readers of Gita who take the guidance of a guru who is coming in a bona fide parampara system, all these benefits are guaranteed. Secondly, freedom from past sinful reactions without executing any prayachita. I was telling, if you go to an astrologer, he will say this particular sin you have that is preventing you from getting married, or your children are not getting married, or you are not having issues, or you are not able to get your promotions, whatever it is, some sin is there. Don't worry, I will perform one puja, give me this much donation, and I will remove that sin, right? But here Adi Shankaracharya says, forget about doing any prayachita. Just read Bhagavad Gita sincerely. Then all your past karma is gone. You don't go to an astrologer again. By just reading Gita sincerely, all your sins are destroyed. This is the second benefit. Thirdly, it attracts the grace of the Supreme Lord. What a great benediction. How to attract the grace of the Supreme Lord? He is not attracted by our going to temples and burning camphor. He knows we are coming there for some personal obligation, that's all. We are not interested in God. Like we go to a supermarket. We go to a supermarket because I want something. It's a transaction. I pay money and they give me what I want. That doesn't attract the grace of Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord is attracted only when the soul demonstrates a serious inclination to know about God, to know about myself, and to know how I can become free from suffering. That attracts the grace of Supreme Lord. So anybody who goes to Gita saying, I want to know what is the life manual given by the Supreme Lord, that attracts. So what a great fortune. Just by coming to Bhagavad Gita, we are able to attract Krishna's attention. And then dirt of material life is destroyed, resulting in a peaceful, joyous mind. Only when samsara mala is destroyed, we can have a peaceful, joyous mind. Otherwise, not possible. If you are continuing to think the wrong kind of thoughts, if you are continuing to pay attention to the wrong kind of thoughts in our mind, simply because of habit, yesterday we talked about habit in some detail, repeat the same action, that becomes a habit. Repeat the same thought, that becomes an action. Repeat the same action, it has become a habit. Once something has become a habit, you will tend to repeat it again and again, and that means you become fixed up in your mala. But Bhagavad Gita will one stroke destroy all the mala, and then first time the living soul will experience a peaceful, joyous mind. Now, how do we experience peace in our life? Just by distractions. We just want to get distracted. Somebody is in great unhappiness or anxiety, they will light a cigarette, or they will take liquor, or they will go for a movie, or they will watch inappropriate content on the internet, or they will do idle, useless, malicious gossip. All these are wrong habits. that for temporary moment we just forget our misery, but it is waiting in the back of our mind to come back. How can we have peace and joy in that kind of a mindset? So until we decide, high time I start removing the dirt in my material life, we cannot have a peaceful, joyous mind. All of us are experiencing disturbance in our life only because of the dirt. Samsara mala. Samsara means, samsara in Sanskrit has the meaning something that is flowing, something that is continuing. So samsara means the cycle of birth and death. We are born, then we become old, we become sick and we die. Then again we are born. That cycle is called samsara. We are flowing. How we are flowing? Just like a piece of wood which is thrown in the river, which is in spate. There is a flood in the river and wood is floating. How it will go? Absolutely uncontrolled. It will go here, there, depending on how the current is going. It has no control. Same thing is happening to us. We are taking different bodies and we are just struggling on the river of life. And that is called samsara mala. We saw in another slide on the day one how somebody is in the middle of the ocean and with his both hands raised, he is calling out the name of God. Then God comes to pick him up. Otherwise, we are all in the middle of the ocean of samsara, not knowing which way we are heading. That is the situation. And ultimately, once the samsara mala is removed, our existence becomes spiritualized. This we will hear more and more in the coming days. What is spiritualizing of existence? Right now, our existence is materialized, right? That means we are thinking we are a body and the body is made of matter only. So we are having a material existence. But the moment we realize our link with God, our connection with God, our relationship with God, then that spiritualizes our existence. Because God is spiritual, and once we realize our connection with God, our life becomes spiritualized. That means permanently, we say brass or copper, you have to clean it daily. Otherwise it will become dull and a coating will develop. Green kind of coating will develop on the copper vessel, right? And you have to rub and rub with some chemical and then it begins to shine again. Like that, we have to do lot of practices to remain clean. We have to get rid of all bad thoughts now. But once you spiritualize your existence, by establishing connection with God, then you become gold. On gold, nothing, no coating can develop. Only on copper it can develop. But by knowing and connecting with God, you will become pure permanently. That means lower desires will not arise in our heart. We will be so happy, lower desires will not trouble us at all. So here, we are talking about the 4 real problems of life. We all know each of us have got so many different problems in our life. But these 4 are the real problems of life. Why? Because the criteria for real problem is nobody wants it. In the whole world, nobody wants these problems. But nobody can avoid it. Everyone will get it in their life. So, these are the real problems of life. It is not poverty or illiteracy or unemployment or a divorce or any kind of problems. They are not real problems. Once you come to know, just by taking birth as a human being or just by taking birth in this material world, we are all subjected to these 4 problems. Some of you may be wondering, but we never considered these as problems because we have accepted that we have to face these things. So once I have accepted, I don't see it as a problem. But Bhagavad Gita teaches us, no, these are not your problems. These problems you have got because you have not read the manual. Krishna gives the true understanding of who we are, where we come from, what is our destination. And then we realize all these 4 problems don't really exist because they exist for the body only. They don't exist for the soul. And because of that reason, these problems can be overcome. The real problems of life can be overcome. What to talk about the other problems which are temporary, different for different people, they can all be very easily overcome. And then there are three other classification of miseries in life. Very briefly I will dwell, we don't have to spend too much time on this. First category is called miseries that come from my own mind and body. My own thoughts give me problems, or my own body, headache, knee ache, foot ache, or whatever, pain, something in the stomach, some problem, some tumor in the head, whatever. Some miseries that come from my mind and my body, that's called adhyatmik. Atma means self. Atma means self. So something, the problem coming from within myself, it's called adhyatmika. Second is adhibhautika, that is coming from other living beings. First thing is, I am giving to myself. Second is, other living beings. We have given an example of a mosquito here, but it could be anything. My own neighbors could be a problem. My own intimate relatives could be a problem. My boss could be a problem. Subordinate could be a problem. Anything. Adhibhautik. Other living entities give problems to us. This is second category. And the third category is natural calamities. Daiva. Daiva. That means forces beyond control are giving problems. It can be a flood or a tsunami or a cyclone or a fire accident or a road accident, or a corona attack. These come from natural calamities over which we have no control. We cannot do anything. It comes and it attacks us. So this is another way of looking at human problems. Nobody is free from these problems. So I gave 4 in the previous slide, another 3, so 7 different kinds of problems we are all suffering from just because we have come to this material world. Don't think anybody is exempted from these problems. Whether they are the king or the chaprasi, everybody has to undergo these problems. Now we are going to the root of these problems. We have seen 7 problems. They are the symptoms: birth, old age, disease, death, which means the human body itself is a problem. That is the first thing we saw. Second 3 problems we saw, again because of human body. The mind and body are giving problems, other living entities are giving problems, and also natural calamities are giving problems. But now we are going deeper. Now we are going within, because Bhagavad Gita guides us to go within. It's called Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam. Bhagavad Gita says it is the king of knowledge and it is the king of secrets. You know why it is called king of secrets? Srila Prabhupada nicely explains. A secret is something that I am hiding from you, right? Then you call it a secret. That is what we think. You don't tell anybody, keep it to yourself. That is a secret. But I will tell you there is one more kind of secret. What is that secret? That secret is, I want to tell everyone, but nobody wants to listen. I want to tell something which is of great importance to you, which is of great importance to everyone. I am calling them, please come, I have something important to tell you. Your house is on fire. But nobody listens. So it remains a secret. You understand? So, even though Bhagavad Gita has been given by the Supreme Lord to all of us 5,000 years ago and it is still existing, and the Guru Parampara is trying to give this message to all of us, but simply by neglecting this message, simply by not paying our attention, turning our ears to the teacher, this remains a secret. How unfortunate. How unfortunate. That by our negligence, it has remained a secret for us. It is a secret which is so much needed by us. If it is something irrelevant to me, doesn't matter. But this is the core. Like I told in the first class, you have a blunt axe and you are trying to cut the tree. When you will cut the tree, somebody is coming and saying, please stop for 5 minutes. And I am saying, no, I will not stop. So here we are classifying 6 kind of problems. Again, in future classes, we will discuss in greater detail. I will briefly tell you what these concepts are. Lust means desire for material sense enjoyment. It is called kama in Sanskrit. Kama. It is the opposite of prema. Prema means I love someone selflessly, that's called prema. We are supposed to love God like that. We are supposed to love our parents and dear ones like that. And ultimately, we are supposed to love everyone like that because everyone is part and parcel of God. Everything we see around us is actually a manifestation of God. So once we love God, we will love everyone. Then our heart will be filled with prema only. We will never have any negative feelings towards anyone, including ourselves. That is prema. Now we are in kama. We are the bottom stage. What is kama? It is lust to enjoy. I want to enjoy. How do I enjoy? I enjoy with my 5 senses and my mind. So I have 6 senses. 5 senses we all know. My eyes, nose, ears, tongue and the skin. These are the 5 sense organs plus mind. Mind uses all these 5 sense organs plus it also uses the recorded memories to create different kinds of thoughts. So this is lusty desire. I want to enjoy my senses. That is called lust. It is the foundation of all our problems. Gita informs Kama yesha, Krodha yesha, Rajoguna samudbhava, Mahasana, Mahapatma, Vittiyena Vihavarinam. Arjun, understand you have 2 enemies. 2 enemies, Krishna says. One is lust, I have already explained. Second is anger. Both are interrelated. They are not different things. Why? Because I have kama. I want to fulfill my desire, but I am getting frustrated. My desire is not getting fulfilled. Then I become angry. Right? Frustration becomes anger. That anger, I will show it on anybody. That's called anger. So both, that's called krodha. Kama, krodha. They are twin brothers. 2 sides of the same coin. Kama leads to krodha. Because all desires cannot be fulfilled. Becomes krodha. So we have seen lust and anger. Then we talk about greed. What is greed? What is the difference between lust and greed? Briefly I will tell you. Greed is a desire to accumulate resources which I don't need. Just because I see my neighbor has got a car, I want to buy a car, even though I have no need for one. Or I want a bigger car, bigger bungalow, or I want to have a bigger bank balance. It's only comparison, More. More means always comparison. That comparison creates, I want more, I want to accumulate more so that I can enjoy my lust more. So greed means unnecessary endeavor. See, we have to live our life, we have to all work. So we are all working reasonably so that I can maintain myself, maintain my family. But if I try to do too much, we are seeing around us how businessmen, industrialists, politicians, government employees sometimes, wherever they see an opportunity, they want to take advantage, but they don't realize that they are incurring sin. They think I have an opportunity. No, actually it's a temptation they are getting, and they succumb to the temptation, they are accumulating sin. They think they are accumulating wealth, but they are accumulating sin. So this is the 3rd category, greed. 4th is pride. Pride means everybody has this pride, I want to be respected. I want respect. I deserve respect. How could you talk to me like this? You should talk to me like that. You know who I am? Pride. Everybody has. Whether he is the top man or he is the bottom man, everybody thinks I am entitled to some respect. That's pride. Everybody has it. Next is envy. I look at the next man and I start, he studied in my same school. He was not a good student. I was first rank holder. He was much down in the list. And today he is in a big job. He is earning big money. He is so much famous. Why it is not? So I am comparing with my neighbor. I am comparing with my classmates. I am comparing with my colleagues. And I become envious. This envy is a very, very dangerous thing. It prevents us from focusing on our life. We are focusing on somebody else's life. Yesterday I told it is like holding a burning coal in my hand that I will throw it on him someday. But it's holding, your hand is getting burnt. And you are not throwing it, it is still on you. So that is envy. And arrogance, moha. That is, moha is basically attachment to whatever I am having. That's called janasya mohoyam aham mama iti. It is an illusion. You cannot hold on to anything. everything will be taken away from us. Our own body will be taken away from us one day, right? Our youth will be taken away from us. If I am youthful today, Prabhupada used to say, at the age of 80, Prabhupada, he was planning for his departure. For almost 1 year, his body was becoming thinner, weaker, very diseased. And he would tell his disciples, who were all in their 20s, early 20s, those hippies, he would tell them, don't think this will not happen to you. So don't think you can hold on to your body. My senses are strong, my body is strong, I can enjoy. No, it will become old, your hair will fall off, it will become grey, teeth will start falling off, body will start crouching, skin it will start shrinking and hanging, your muscles will become weak, you can no longer run and jump and swim. It's bound to happen. Teeth will fall off, eyes will develop cataract, ears will need hearing aids, what not. Then inner body organ will start developing problems and you have to go to the doctor repeatedly. Who can help it? So nothing we can hold on. My beauty I cannot hold on. Even my knowledge I cannot hold on, because as I grow older, my memory starts failing. So this attachment that I am this body and whatever belongs to this body is mine, that is. So these are the problems, inner problems. They are leading to the outer problems. I want to tell you one short story of a woodcutter. First 2 days we heard some story of woodcutter. This time, here is a woodcutter. Every day he would pass in front of the king's palace, carrying a bundle of sandalwood on his head. Every day. And he will shout, sandalwood, sandalwood, anybody want sandalwood, like that. Every morning, early morning, he will pass by the palace. And same time, the king would be waking up in his room upstairs. And he will look out of the window and he will see this woodcutter. And the king would feel so much anger in his heart towards this man. The king was not knowing. He's a complete stranger. But the king is feeling this anger in his heart. For daily morning, his mood was getting spoiled. This man is daily, when he is waking up, he is passing that side. After a week, 10 days, he became so upset, he called his minister. He told him, I hate this man. Please have him killed. I don't want to see him again. But the minister was very intelligent. He said, O king, please give me 1 week's time. I will find out what is the problem. I will try to solve it. If the problem is not solved, then as you said, I will kill him. King said, all right, agreed. So days passed, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 7 days passed. Now the king is looking at the same man in the morning and is feeling so much love for him. And the king is confused. What has happened to me? He called the minister. He told the minister, what magic you have done? I am no longer feeling the kind of hatred I felt towards this man. Pitiable man. Why should I kill him? Poor fellow. He must be having his family and all. And he has done nothing wrong to me. But please tell me the secret. What did you do? The minister said, O king, I went to the woodcutter. I asked him what he is doing. Slowly I developed a conversation. He told me, see, I am having this sandalwood with me. I want to sell it to the palace. But they are not buying it. So I am waiting when the king will die. When the king will die, for his cremation, they will need sandalwood. Then they will buy it and they will get my money. So I am constantly meditating when the king will die. See, this man has developed a negative thought. He is thinking, my existence depends on the death of the king. So the king has almost become his enemy. When will the king die? This is the thought which is constantly floating in his mind. Now you see, the king could pick up this thought from the air. King doesn't know what is happening. But the antenna picks up the vibration. And the king was thinking, I don't like this man. I don't like this man. And I cannot stand him. So here you see, one man has a problem in his heart and that has transmitted to another man, and that man's peace is also spoiled. Now what is happening? The reaction is coming to this man. Had the minister not intervened, he would have died. But now the minister told him, okay, is that the case? Actually, we are performing now a special yajna for the long life of the king. For the yajna, we need all kinds of wood. So please give this bundle to me. And whenever you can find wood, please come to the palace and give it to us, and we will buy food. And let the king live long, so that we will continue to buy it from you. Suddenly the man's heart changed. He is now thinking, let the king live long. Because when the king lives long, I will have business. And that again transmitted to the king, and the king is no longer angry. So we can see how our inner thoughts are the root of all the problems we discussed before. Because of these negative inner thoughts, we take birth in this world. We take birth in this world. Once we take birth in this world, we get birth, old age, disease, death, Adhyatmic, Adhidaivic, Adhibaudic kind of problems. So, just by entering into this world, we are having all these problems. And these 6 things are at the root of that. Now, there is a root for all these 6 problems. Now, we are digging deeper. Now, let us go further deeper. We are not looking like a psychologist, I'll give you some cognitive therapy and you'll become all right. No, that is all cosmetic. In fact, all the psychologists must study Bhagavad Gita to become successful practitioners of their profession. Anyone who reads Bhagavad Gita deeply will become successful in their profession. And that is why I gave that example on day 1, that let us sharpen the saw. Let us sharpen the saw. Let us sharpen the axe by reading Bhagavad Gita, by getting the true intelligence. Now, what is at the root of these 6 problems? The root of the 6 problems is our ignorance. Ignorance, lack of knowledge, lack of spiritual knowledge, lack of knowledge about who I am. Why am I here? Why did I come here? What did I do wrong? Who created this universe? Why they created? What is their purpose? Is there a solution to my problems? What is the relationship between me and God? How can I overcome my difficulties? These questions we are supposed to ask, and the answers are there in the manual of life called Bhagavad Gita. So that ignorance of the self, not knowing who I am, not knowing where is my solution, that is at the root of these 6 bad qualities. We call them thieves of peace. They are the people who are taking away my peace. Let us never blame anyone for my problems. I have to blame myself, but I should not even blame myself, because the solution is at hand. Let me just remove my ignorance. And that will be throughout Gita, this process will continue. As we hear Gita through a proper parampara from the hands of a bona fide spiritual representative of Krishna, all our ignorance will disappear. And then all the miseries of life will go away. I am now briefly touching upon a few points from the Gita, how to navigate the shoreless ocean of samsara. Samsara, I told, it's a ocean into which we have fallen. We are unable to free ourselves. What to do? How to get out of this ocean? First of all, understand you are not this body. This body has a beginning and the body has an end. But let us understand, we are not this body. We are a soul trapped in this body. And we have lost our Father. We are searching for Him. Because once we go back to our Father, He can protect us nicely. So let us understand, we are lost in this ocean of life. In this ocean, we are somewhere in the middle. We don't know where is the shore. We don't know where is the home. Let us understand, I have a home and there is a shore where my Father is waiting for me. I am a lost child for whatever reason. That also we will understand as we read Gita in future. But let us understand, we are lost children. Then let us realize, what is this body I have? If you say, I am a soul, I belong to Krishna, then what is this body? Let us say, this human body is my ship. Because earlier, we have taken birth in so many different bodies. We have taken birth as animals, as trees, as plants, as grass, as birds, all kinds of things, as aquatics, fishes. We have taken birth in so many different bodies. But at that time, we could not do anything. But now we have a human body. Let us consider it as a ship. Because you need a ship to cross the ocean. Without a ship, how you will cross? And let us understand, this human body is precious, not to be wasted in sense pleasures. This body should be properly used as a ship to cross the ocean. And then we need a spiritual master, because just by having a ship in the ocean, you don't know where to go. You don't know how to guide the ship. You need a guide for your ship. And who is the guide? Srila Prabhupada, an Acharya in the bona fide Parampara system starting from Krishna. He is your captain of the ship. Now you have a captain, you have a ship, and you know that these people will take you home. What else is there now? Accept the bona fide scripture Bhagavad Gita as the favorable breeze. The ship goes nicely if there is a breeze pushing from behind. The ship will go quite fast, and that is Bhagavad Gita. We have to align our life to Bhagavad Gita so that our ship will go smoothly towards the shore. And then what happens? Where do we want to go? We want to go back to Krishna. That is our eternal destination. That is our eternal destination. Once we are home, we are free from birth, old age, disease, death. We will learn about Vaikuntha in future classes, more detail. But let us understand, going back to Krishna, where he lives, is the solution to all our problems. Not that you have to die to go there. Please don't think I should die to go there. You can be living and still go to Krishna's abode. You can be in the same body, but you can be free from all your problems. Why? By understanding the true nature of your body. As your ship, you use the human body to serve Krishna. You use your human body for the pleasure of Krishna. Then you are already with Krishna. We don't have to die. We don't have to separate the soul from this body to go to Krishna. Right now, living in this body, we can connect to Krishna. We can reach our abode because Krishna is everywhere. He is not in one place. He is everywhere. And we can connect with him. What we should do? We should give up all distractions gradually under the guidance. Distractions are, I told, we should avoid sinful life. By avoiding sinful life, our distractions will go. And we can steadily progress towards Krishna. And here I am giving a small example. Samsara Malanashanam, we were talking. Here you see a case of Ajamila. This is given in the Puranas, in the Bhagavata Purana, which is supposed to be the highest Purana, spotless Purana, Amalam Puranam. It has no defects at all, perfect. Bhagavatam is supposed to be an incarnation of Krishna himself in book form. Here there is a story of Ajamila. Ajamila was born in a nice Brahminical family with all good qualities. He was respectful to his father, loving to his wife, and he was perfectly following the injunctions of the scriptures. He had no sinful tendencies in his heart. But one day, when he went to the forest to collect flowers for his father's puja, he happened to see a prostitute and a drunken man in close embrace. Today we are seeing it 24 hours. You switch on the television, you go out on the street, you go, anything you see, these pictures are everywhere. And these people are also highly paid, for spoiling and polluting our heart, they are highly paid. And they are our heroes and heroines. But anyway, this man, just a few minutes, he was disturbed by that sight of a drunken man embracing a prostitute. And that thought started disturbing him so much. He tried to tell himself this is wrong, but he could not free himself. Then he brought the prostitute with him. He started living with her and he chased away his parents. He developed all vices. This went on until he was 88 years old. But he had a young child at that age, and that child he named Narayana. And because he loved that child so much, he was constantly calling Narayana, 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 come here, Narayana, go there, Narayana, eat your food, Narayana, come with me to sleep in the bed, like that. So one day, the Yamadutas came to take him, and he saw them, and he became scared. Immediately he called Narayana. He was only calling his son. He called Narayana. But that constant repetition of the holy name had already purified him. Immediately Vishnu Dutas appeared there and they chased away the Yamadutas, saying, this soul is now pure. And the Vishnu Dutas disappeared, Yamadutas disappeared, this man got up from bed. And then he realized, how I have wasted my life. Then immediately he went to Kashi or Rishikesh. He started performing nice devotion to Krishna. And remaining, he lived 100 years. Another 12 years, he did perfect devotion to Krishna. And at the end of that 100 years, you see the Vimana has come from the spiritual world. Vishnu Dutas have come and he is boarding that ship and is going with them. So here why I wanted to show this, Samsara Mala was destroyed in the 12 years only. Even though he had wasted the bulk of his life, 88 years, but he became serious. he turned to the instructions of God. He gave up all his bad ways. His karma was destroyed. Yesterday we saw karma will be destroyed, past life. Here we see a perfect example of all his karma destroyed, fully purified. Then God does not want to punish you for your past sins. This is what I was telling yesterday. Some people asked me doubts also separately in my number. The point I am making is your karma will be destroyed provided you have no inclination to do the wrong actions of the past. You give up. By taking shelter of Krishna, by taking shelter of Guru, by taking shelter of Bhagavad Gita, if you give up the wrong ways and you decide, I want to change myself. You may not be able to do it in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, but you make a determination. I want to give a different direction to my life. That itself will destroy past sinful reactions. And this is a practical example of how it works. He returned to Vaikuntha in the same lifetime after such a long sinful life. And here, this picture we are seeing, the soul which is purified, it returns to the eternal abode of Krishna. So all of us are bound to go there, sometime or the other. How soon we want to go is left to us. Some of us will go by walk, some of us will go by a bullock cart, some of us will take a faster vehicle, some of us may fly, but all of us will go there one day. It is not like somebody will go to eternal hell, somebody will go somewhere to eternal heaven. That is all nonsense. That is all immature concepts of soul and God. Let us understand clearly, all of us will one day return to God. All of us, all the soul, because God makes no mistake. Unless God makes a mistake, why should the soul go to a hell eternally? That means God made a mistake. In a factory, you are producing goods. If the goods are defective, they do the inspection and they reject the goods. But those goods which can be repaired, it will come back to the operating table. They will again rectify it and then will be passed. But God does not reject goods. God makes every one of us perfect. And that is the law of karma. Why karma law is there? To purify us. Whatever wrong things we have done, gradually will be purified by the fire of karma. Karma is like a fire, You throw gold, contaminated gold into the fire. As the heat increases, all the contamination in the gold will melt and go away. Gold will not melt. All the contamination will melt as the heat is increased. Then you have pure gold. Same way our soul is being purified through karma. If we are willing to get purified, there is least suffering. If we are not willing to be purified, we fight with karma, then we will do more bad things and we will invite more sufferings for our future. We should not fight with karma. What I mean to say, the reactions we should not fight. The reactions we should accept. Okay, I have done wrong. I am receiving the fruit of that. But am I doing the right actions now? Our focus should be always on action. And our focus should be, when it comes to reaction, we should press the pause button and then calibrate our reaction. That's called response. We should not react, we should respond. And we should be careful about our actions. And these are the ways to perfect our life and go back to Krishna. On this hopeful note, we shall conclude today's session. And let us once again pray to Srila Prabhupada. Please guide our path. Please purify our life. We definitely would like to take your guidance and return back to Krishna. Let us all chant the Maha Mantra together and then we will close this session. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.